There comes a moment when the body feels heavy, when the mind whispers that it cannot continue, and the spirit wonders if all its effort has been in vain. This exhaustion is not random. It is sacred. It is the weight that arrives just before a breakthrough, the silence before the first notes of a symphony. Most people misinterpret this fatigue as failure, as if life is closing its doors. But what if the opposite is true? What if the very tiredness pressing against your chest is proof that you have reached threshold where transformation begins? Think about it. You have pushed, struggled, searched, tried to manifest, tried to shift, tried to control your destiny with precision and force. You believed that one more attempt, one more affirmation, one more sleepless night would finally push the door open. And yet here you are, empty, questioning everything. The truth is, this is not the collapse of your dream. It is the collapse of the illusion that effort alone creates transformation. Every great initiation in life disguises itself as despair. The seed must split open before it can grow. The caterpillar must dissolve into formlessness before wings emerge. And you, standing here in your fatigue, are undergoing the same hidden process. The world told you exhaustion means weakness, but in reality, exhaustion is the sign that the old self has burned itself out. What is dying is not you. It is the false belief that you must fight your way into becoming. Feel that. Let it sink in. The heaviness you carry is not a punishment. It is a signal. It means you have done enough. You have given all that was required to burn the illusions of the old world. This is why so many give up right before the shift. They mistake this sacred exhaustion for the end, when in fact it is the beginning. If you are listening now, it means you are closer than ever. The final veil is thin. The exhaustion you feel is the universe's way of saying stop pushing. Stop grasping. You are ready, not because of the energy you still have left to fight, but because you have finally emptied yourself of everything that could block what is already yours. This is the paradox. Transformation does not arrive when you are strongest. It arrives when you are surrendered, when your will has burned away, and when your heart finally opens to receive without resistance. That is why you feel so tired. It is not the weight of failure. It is the weight of completion. So pause. Breathe. Recognize this moment for what it is, the exhaustion before transformation. Not the end of the road, but the door itself. And this fatigue pressing on your soul, it is the proof that you have arrived. Every great journey has a guardian at its threshold. In myths, it was the dragon at the cave entrance, the monster at the bridge, the sphinx at the gate. In your life, that guardian has been your shadow. The part of you've spent years trying to escape. The doubts, the fears, the self-sabotage, the darkness you felt stalking you in silence. It was never there to destroy you. Step into your next chapter. It was there to prepare you. Think about the moments when you almost gave up. The days when your own thoughts turned against you, whispering that you were not enough, that nothing would ever change, that maybe this dream was too big for you. That voice was not random. It was the shadow, testing whether you would run from yourself or face the one thing you've been avoiding. Your own depths. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It reflects the wounds you have carried, the beliefs you inherited, the patterns that lived inside you long before you even knew they were there. To reach this point, the final stage of your shift, you had to encounter it fully. You had to stand in its presence and feel its weight. Why? Because only in facing the shadow do you to strength that cannot be taught, only earned. Many try to bypass the shadow. They want light without darkness, freedom without confrontation. But the truth is, there is no transformation without descent. The shadow is the initiation. It is the trial by fire that strips away all illusions. It asks one question: will you run from yourself, or will you embrace the parts of you you once feared? And here you are, you made it through. The very fact that you are hearing these words proves it. You may still feel the sting of fear, the echoes of doubt, but you did not retreat. You stood before your shadow and allowed it to teach you. That is why you are here now on the other side. Understand this clearly: the shadow was never blocking the door. It was guarding it. Guarding it until you were strong enough, awake enough, and conscious enough to step through without clinging to illusions. It forced you to shed the masks you wore, the identities you built, the lies you believed. It burned away everything that could not survive in your next reality. So do not curse the shadow. Thank it. It shaped you into someone who could withstand the intensity of transformation. It taught you endurance, humility, courage, and surrender. Without it, you would still be lost in the shallow waters of comfort, never daring to swim in the depths where true shifting happens. Now you know the true thing. The shadow was not the end of your journey. It was the guardian at the door. And because you faced it, the door is no longer locked. You are ready to step through. We live in a world that worships effort. From the moment you were born, you were taught that progress comes from pushing harder, from doing more, from grinding until exhaustion becomes your badge of honor. But the universe does not speak in the language of force. It speaks in silence. And when you finally stop pushing, when the noise of effort dissolves, you begin to hear the whisper that was always guiding you. Think back to all the techniques you tried, the visualizations, the endless repetitions of do more, try harder. And yet, despite all your effort, the door remained closed. Why? Because effort, while noble, carries with it a hidden resistance. When you push too hard, you create tension. And that tension, though invisible, becomes a wall between you and the reality you seek. The silence, however, tells a different story. Silence is not empty. It is not passive. It is the space where the deepest truths reveal themselves. When you allow yourself to be still, when you release the frantic need to control, you suddenly notice what was always there. The path, the opening, the key. Imagine standing before a door, pushing with all your strength, believing that only force can move it. Your jaw clenches, your muscles ache, your willpower burns. But then, in a single moment of surrender, you stop. You step back, you breathe, and in that silence you notice something you missed. The handle. The door was never locked. It simply opened inward. This is the paradox of transformation. The silence reveals what effort concealed. The universe was never measuring how hard you could push. It was waiting for you to stop, to pause, long enough to notice that everything you sought was already within reach, waiting for your alignment rather than your struggle. Silence is where you hear the truth beyond the ego. It is in the quiet moments when you feel the presence of something greater, when you sense that you are not separate from life, but woven into its very fabric. This silence is not weakness. It is your power, because in silence, resistance falls away, and reality can finally flow toward you. Understand this: you are not being asked to quit. You are being asked to listen, to realize that the shift you have been chasing cannot be forced into existence. It must be received. And reception requires silence, patience, openness. So let the silence speak. Let it guide you where effort could not. It is not the absence of movement, but the presence of alignment. And once you truly hear it, you will realize that the silence was never empty. It was the voice of the universe whispering, "You are ready. The door is already open." There is a reason the final steps feel so heavy. It is because the ego is fighting for its survival. The ego has always whispered in your ear that you must earn your worth, prove your value, fight for your freedom. It convinces you that you are never enough, that one more effort, one more sacrifice, one more achievement will finally validate you. But here is the truth: the ego's story was the last illusion. The ego thrives on striving. It can't imagine a reality where you already are what you seek. It clings to the belief that life is a ladder and that you must climb rung by rung, proving yourself with each step. And so, it created endless resistance, pushing you to chase after what was always within you. But in this final stage, that illusion begins to crumble. The exhaustion you feel is not only physical. It is the ego's collapse. It is the moment where its lies no longer hold power over you. For you are beginning to see what it never wanted you to see: that nothing has to be earned. You were always enough. Think of how many times you delayed your joy, telling yourself, "Once I get there, once I achieve that, once I manifest this, then I'll allow myself to be happy." That is the ego's trap. It places happiness in the future, always out of reach, because if you believed you already had it, the ego would lose its grip. But now you see the game. You realize that freedom does not wait at the finish line. It is here, in this moment in your being. The ego's last illusion is the belief that transformation is hard, that you must push, fight, and prove. But look closely. Wasn't it in your moments of surrender, your moments of stillness, that clarity arrived? Didn't the deepest truths reveal themselves not when you were striving, but when you finally let go? That is because the real shift is not something you achieve. It is something you allow. And here lies the great paradox: the ego wants to protect you, but its protection has been the very prison keeping you small. By convincing you to fight for your worth, it made you forget that your worth was never in question. By pushing you to control reality, it blinded you to the fact that reality was always responding to your state of being. This moment is the ego's last stand. It will try to whisper that you are not ready, that you need to do more, that you have not earned it yet. But now you know better. The illusion has no weight once you see through it. The door was never locked. The test was never about effort. The only thing in your way was the ego's story that you weren't already there. And now, that story no longer binds you. You are free. Have you ever noticed how certain moments in life feel too perfectly timed to be accidents? The right person appears. The right words find you. The right opportunities to arrive just when you need it most. These are not coincidences. They are synchronicities, mirrors of the alignment between your inner world and the universe itself. Up until now, you may have dismissed these moments as random, as luck, as chance. But chance is the language of the unconscious. Synchronicity is the universe revealing that nothing is random. Every so-called accident, every chance encounter, every sudden impulse guiding you to click on a message like this. It is proof that you are not wandering blindly. You are being guided. Think about this. How did you end up here right now, listening to these words at this exact stage of your journey? Out of millions of choices, distractions, and directions, something pulled you here. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. The same field that carries your desires has been arranging the pieces of your reality so that you would stand at this threshold fully prepared. Synchronicity is the universe whispering, I see you. I hear you. You are not lost. It is the confirmation that your inner shift is already being reflected in your outer world. And the more you awaken, the more frequent and undeniable these synchronicities become. They serve as mirrors, showing you that reality itself is responding to your state of consciousness. The ego sees only chaos. It believes life is random and merciless. But when you look with awakened eyes, you see the hidden threads. You begin to notice that the conversation you overheard, the song lyric that repeated, the number that kept appearing, all of it was pointing you toward a truth your mind had not yet grasped. Here is the secret: synchronicity does not create your shift. It reflects it. These signs are not the beginning of transformation. They are the evidence that transformation has already occurred within you. When your frequency changes, the outer world must adjust. Reality bends to match the vibration of your being. And synchronicity is the first ripple of that bending. The echo of your shift reaching back to confirm what your soul already knows. So when you encounter these moments, do not dismiss them. Do not brush them aside as coincidence. Recognize them for what they are: the universe's fingerprints on your journey. They are proof that you are not separate from the whole, but intimately connected to it. And now, in this moment, this match itself is synchronicity. You were guided here to be reminded the path is unfolding exactly as it should. You did not stumble onto this by accident. You were brought here because shift is real, your transformation is active, and the universe is holding up a mirror to show you it has already begun. What you are experiencing right now, the confusion, the disorientation, the sense that the ground beneath you is shifting, is not failure. It is the collapse of an old timeline. The version of you that once clung to fear, doubt, and limitation cannot walk with you into the next reality. So, life is dismantling it piece by piece, even if that dismantling feels like loss. Think of how a building must be torn down before new foundations can be laid. To the one inside, the demolition feels chaotic, even destructive. Walls crack, ceilings fall, familiar rooms vanish. But to the architect, it is progress. To the architect, every collapse is necessary for something greater to be built. The same is happening in you. Your old identity, the self that believed it was unworthy, the self that thought it had to struggle endlessly, the self that carried pain like armor, is dissolving. And when identities collapse, it can feel like death. You may look around and see friendships fading, habits breaking, routines shattering. You may feel a strange emptiness where once there was certainty. Do not misinterpret this emptiness. It is not the end. It is the space being created for something new. The collapse of the old timeline is not a punishment. It is liberation. The old you fought to hold everything together, but life is no longer letting you carry what cannot survive in your next chapter. This is why certain doors closed without explanation. Why opportunities you thought were right for you slipped away. Why people you leaned on began to drift. The universe was not taking them to hurt you. It was removing them because they belonged to the timeline that is now dying. And yes, it can feel like grief. You might grieve who you once were. You might grieve the comfort of familiarity. But remember, the caterpillar must dissolve into nothing before it becomes the butterfly. The collapse is not the end of your story. It is the moment the story changes form. If you pay attention, you will notice the signs. Things that once triggered you no longer have the same power. Old desires feel strangely hollow. The patterns that once repeated endlessly now fall apart before they continue. These are not coincidences. They are proof that the old timeline is losing its grip. The collapse is not something to resist. It is something to trust. The pain comes not from the collapse itself, but from clinging to what is falling. Let go, and you will see that beneath the ruins lies a foundation stronger than anything you built before. Understand this: the old timeline had to end. The frequency you are moving into cannot coexist with the weight of the old. What feels like loss is simply clearing. What feels like death is birth. And the fact that you are still here, breathing, listening, proves that you are not collapsing with it. You are the one rising from it. You've been told your whole life that progress requires effort, that every breakthrough demands struggle, that you must constantly move, strive, and fight for your place in the world. But here, at this stage of your journey, that belief no longer serves you. Because the greatest paradox of transformation is this: the final step is no step at all. When you reach this place, the collapse of the old, the clearing of illusions, the birth of awareness, the realize that what you were chasing was never ahead of you. It was always within you, to your next chapter. Every step you thought you had to take, every mountain thought you had to climb, was simply guiding you back to what you already are. The illusion was the distance. The illusion was the belief that you were separate from holiness, that you had to earn what was already yours. The final step, then, is not movement but surrender. It is the moment you stop trying to become and finally allow yourself to be. It is the release of resistance, the letting go of control, the quiet acceptance that nothing needs to be added to you. Nothing needs to be proven, nothing needs to be conquered. You are enough, not as a destination, but as a truth that has always existed. Think of water. When it is still, it reflects the sky perfectly. When it is agitated, it distorts the image. Your life has been waves of striving, constant ripples of motion, chasing something outside of yourself. But the moment you stop thrashing and let yourself become still, clarity emerges. You see what was there all along. This is why many who reach this stage describe it as peace, not victory. It is not the loud triumph of a warrior, but the calm realization of a soul that finally rests. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to perform for acceptance. You don't need to force the river to flow. It already knows where it's going. But make no mistake, this surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. To surrender is to trust the rhythm of life so fully that you stop clinging to outcomes. You stop resisting change. You stop fearing uncertainty. Instead, you stand rooted in the present, knowing that nothing is missing, and everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The final step is no step at all, because you are not walking toward a destination. You are dissolving the illusion that there was ever a distance between you and it. When this realization takes hold, the anxiety of what's next fades. The fear, what if I fail, disappears. The chase ends, and in its place, a quiet, unshakable truth emerges: you are home, right here, right now. And it is in this stillness, this surrender, that the quantum shift completes itself. The seeker disappears and only the found remains. This is the moment most people never recognize. The moment where exhaustion doesn't mean defeat. It means completion. For years, you pustled, fought against yourself and the world, believing the struggle was proof of growth. But at some point, the battle quiets. The endless striving fades. And what settles in is not more resistance but silence. This silence is not emptiness. It is your diploma. It is proof that you have crossed the threshold. Think of a student who has studied, sacrificed, poured their soul into preparation. When graduation day comes, there are no more assignments to submit, no more exams to pass. There is only the ceremony of acknowledgement. The diploma doesn't give them their intelligence. It recognizes what was already cultivated within them. That is where you stand now. The exhaustion you feel is not a sign you are behind. It is a sign that the old tests are over. The struggle has served its purpose. You have graduated. But here's the beauty. Your graduation is silent. There is no audience clapping, no marching band, no caps tossed in the air. It happens quietly in the stillness of your own soul. No one else may see it, but you know. The fatigue you carry is not burnout. It is the natural letting go of battles that no longer need to be fought. It is the body, the mind, and the spirit finally releasing what they were never meant to hold forever. And what remains after this letting go? A life already waiting for you. Not a life you have to earn, not a destiny you have to chase. It is here right now, like a gift on the table you were too busy to notice. The doors you thought were locked swing open, because they were never locked to begin with. You just needed to stop pounding on the wrong ones. This is your silent graduation. The moment you stop running and realize you have arrived. The diploma is the peace settling in your chest. The quiet joy that doesn't demand proof. The unshakable trust that life is unfolding exactly as it must. You don't need the noise of recognition. You don't need the validation of others. The ceremony is already complete within you. The struggle was the lesson. The exhaustion is the proof, and the life before you, the one asking only to be received, is the reward. Step into it without hesitation. The chapter has closed. The shift has already happened. The rest is simply living in the truth of who you have become. This is the silent graduation, and it is yours.